Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to your weekly Nintendo News Roundup Live. Each and every Friday night, the All-In Crew breaks down the week in Nintendo news. Hey, Eric.
Well, hello there, Seth. How are you doing this weekend?
well, hello. I saw you
Well,
dancing.
hello. I don't know what you were talking about. I wasn't.
I saw those moves. I saw you dancing over there. Nothing wrong
We
with
have,
it.
we have such a banging intro tune that you just
It's
you
really
gotta
good. Yeah, it
you
does
gotta
make you want to move a little bit. That's
yeah,
for sure.
and shake and shake,
And
but
bump.
and various other things that the kids do these days that I'm clearly not up on. Um, like espresso. Apparently espresso is a big thing in music this summer. But Sabrina Carpenter references aside, there is a very important thing at the beginning of every news roundup and every proper episode of All In that we do, a hugely important part of our business that we must perform here at the beginning of each. And I'm going to quit rambling. We're going to shout out the patrons.
We are. We're going to thank our friends and supporters, patreon.com/allinpodcast, the Sabrina Carpenters of our world.
Yes.
Big thank you to everybody who supports us over there on Patreon. Let's start with our Golden Banana tier. Thank you to Rob Yapel, Sean O'Baggins, Ashton, Tim A, aka NeoPrime33, aka Nintendo Dad number 4, Phelan Ward, Bill Tucker, Marcus O'Neill, Liam D, Gamer Jason, Andrew Wilkins, Alan, hashtag Look to the Cookie, SAZ, and blah blah blah. Big thank you to our Golden Banana Bunch. You get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier. Join their ranks, get the exclusive content, and see what all the fuss is about. Moving into our Triforce tier. Thank you to Josh Vaughn, the godfather of Tingle Love Tuesday, John Datfast Cummins of the Retrologic podcast and the On Topic Retro podcast, the Globetrotting Jet Set Nintendo Hub and Sparky of the Nintendo Hub right here on YouTube, Adam Caparello of the Retro Groove podcast, Shy Guy, the other half of our Shy Guy mod squad. Thank you, Shy Guy. Daniel Hinojosa, Dan Andaluma, Bowza, the keeper of the hugs, who's in the live chat right now. Hi, Bowza. The Don Rob, Foolish Fuji, the koala from Down Under, and the legend himself.
Now he's thinking about me every night. Oh, is it that sweet? I guess so. Say you can't sleep, baby. I know. That's that me, Uncle Randy.
Very good. The best part is you can see the reflection of your phone with the lyrics in your glasses. Just very good. I respect that. Yes, Uncle Randy is that espresso. Thanks so much to everybody who supports us on Patreon, making the wheels on this bus go round and round. We appreciate you. Another great way to support.
Wearing my all-in polo here for Bowser in the chat.
Well, speaking of All In Polo, a great way to support the show is also to pick up some merch at allin.media and grab yourself a polo. It's another great way to support what we do here. And if you watch us on YouTube, your likes and subscribes and your comments and all that stuff help feed the algorithm. And if you listen on the podcast feed, your 5-star ratings and reviews are very helpful as well. Quick, free, and easy to do all of that stuff. So thank you all so much for doing that. Eric, interesting stuff to talk about this week in the news.
What a week. What a weird week. And I know there's already been a lot of discourse about our top story, but honestly, it's so bizarre that we just got to talk about it ourselves. So let's do just that. Let's talk about it. Earlier
this week, Nintendo teased what appears to be an M-rated horror game that they are at the very least publishing, called Emio, I guess, working title Emio. It just hashtag who is Emio.
Yeah.
With this very, very brief little teaser trailer with some Japanese kanji that just reads Emio, featuring this smiley faced like paper bag head character, and that's literally all we know about it.
Yeah, there's been a ton of speculation, obviously, as a teaser like this is, designed specifically for. But honestly, when it comes right down to it, we really don't know anything. We're not 100% sure that the title of the game is going to be Emio, is going to be who is Emio. You yourself theorize this may be a Fatal Frame game. Honestly, that still could be the case. We don't know if the paper bag man, if it is even a man. We don't know if the paper bag person is Emio. Like there's this was such a weirdly brilliantly crafted teaser, just a few random images. We even see a couple different expressions from said paper bag man. We have the smiling
see if I can catch it
emoji here, and then perfect, well done. And then we have just kind of a weirdly like Funko Pop eye look from the paper bag person. They're wearing a long brown, like almost detective's trench coat, but there's so much unique about this. First of all, Nintendo doesn't do this. This is not how they market games. We just got a massive Nintendo Direct just a couple weeks ago, supposedly highlighting all the games that are going to be coming out in the second half of 2024, and this was nowhere to be found. Everybody thought that it was like, okay, well, Nintendo has shown us everything that they want to for the next few months at least, and then just a couple weeks later, on a random weekday, they drop a teaser like this completely out of character for them, and it's for an M-rated game, which, you know, Nintendo has done historically, but it is still weird to see them, you know, as front-facing with it like this. We have some very prominent, mature-rated Nintendo games in the past, but like just a straight-up horror-themed title, which this kind of appears to be, you know, this certainly looks like it's going to be darker than, you know, a Conker's Bad Fur Day or a, you know, even something like an Eternity's Requiem or Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Like there's just so much that we don't know by design. And a lot of people have already made a couple kind of connections to the fact that we already know that Bloober Team is working on a game for Nintendo. Although we don't know if it's this either. Bloober Team, for those who don't know, probably most famously right now working on the Silent Hill 2 remake.
Mm-hmm.
They've also done the Layers of Fear studio, Observer with Rutger Hauer, which I highly recommend. I really love that game. But we don't know if this is them either. Just there's so much really up in the air. However, the way that Nintendo is doing this, the way that Nintendo is specifically teasing this game, when their MO is typically to show us gameplay and to give us at least some hard information about the title, the way that they're showing off and the way that they're teasing this game makes me think not only that it's not a 2024 game, but that it may even probably be a Switch 2 title ultimately.
I disagree for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
First of all, the trailer does begin with the Switch logo.
Yeah.
So it is going to be on Switch 1 at the very least. So we have that. Also, it's already been rated in not just the ESRB, but multiple territories. And video games are usually not rated until they're fairly close to release. I think this is a 2024 game. I think that this is a teaser for something that is going to come out within the next couple months. I wouldn't be shocked to see this in like September or something like that.
You think?
Yeah, I think this is pretty far along and like ready to go. I think they're teasing it this way to drum up some hype. Rubberman 202 in the chat said, I think it's better they didn't show this in the Nintendo Direct. This would have been drowned out by everything else, and I agree. This would have felt like a kind of out of place, you know, kind of whatever little third party thing alongside Brothership and like all these other big announcements at the Direct. I like them doing it this way has given this game the biggest splash that it could possibly get. Because you're right, Nintendo doesn't do this, and Nintendo doesn't typically produce games like this. Even if they are just working with Bloober Team on a publisher level, if that's what this is, they don't make games like this. I mean, the Australian rating here references some very intense themes. The game is rated for some very it's not just like Bayonetta or you know, or something where it's M-rated, but like it's just sexual themes or or whatever. You know, this is like, I don't want to trigger anybody by listing off what this is rated for. You can look it up yourself, or if you see it on the screen or whatever, you can zoom in if you want to. But it is going to be dark, apparently. You mentioned the Bloober Team thing. There was an interview with them recently, I think just within the past week, where they referenced a title called Project M, which they say is going to have a budget that is, quote, significantly smaller than its usual projects and is being developed, quote, in cooperation with the world's best game creators for Nintendo platforms, end quote. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's what this is or not. Of course, you could extrapolate Project M, Emio, like maybe there's something there. It's also kind of funny. I saw somebody point this out that Emio was in the Nintendo Direct. They had that game Memories in Orbit or whatever, Emio. So it's kind of funny that they maybe this little Easter egg for that, because that did feel a little bit strange in the Nintendo Direct. I don't think that's what this is, but it is a little bit funny that that there was another game called Emio at a Nintendo Direct. So anyways, yeah, it's just interesting. There's a lot of there's very little that we actually know. I suspect Nintendo is going to keep us on the line for a little bit, but yeah. I do think they're going to properly reveal this sooner rather than later.
Well, I mean, Nintendo, even though this isn't in their typical game marketing wheelhouse, and this is certainly not their typical game, they certainly do know how to drum up hype for a title. So this was this was not just a random tweet. This was a very concerted, deliberate first step in this game's marketing push. And I've seen people on Twitter, I'm not even a horror fan, but this has me completely wrapped around my fingers. I want to know more about this sooner rather than later, which is exactly what Nintendo wanted. And I'm interested to say, I've got to imagine, given how Nintendo is treating this, that it probably is a brand new IP. I don't think if it were just another game in a long-running franchise that, you would use that franchise's name, I would think, even from the beginning of a marketing push. This feels to me like a new IP marketing campaign. But I mean, that could still be wrong. Again, we don't know anything really aside from Emio and the few images that we've been given, and apparently some of the vague content that's going to be included in the game.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a betting man, I would agree with you that this is going to be a new IP. But also, I mean, look, PT came out.
Yeah.
And that was a Silent Hill game. And you beat that demo, and it's hey, we're making now. That game didn't end up coming to fruition, but that was a demo for a Silent Hill game.
Yep.
So that has been really effective. PT is now a legendary thing. So that's been effective in the past. Maybe Nintendo's kind of taken notice of that. And if this is a Fatal Frame thing, maybe they're hey, Fatal Frame's never really, and they have published the last several Fatal Frame games. So maybe
there's a lot of Fatal Frame games on the Switch,
Yeah, and so maybe what this is hey, we have a new one coming out. It has been actually a couple years since there's been a new one. So maybe they're hey, we have a new one coming out, and maybe we're going to take a PT approach, try to drum up a little bit more hype for it. I think it would be a little deflating if it turns out this is just a new Fatal Frame game, but if this is some exciting new soft reboot of the series that has a clearly very different vibe and approach, maybe this is the best way to market it. So that's all just pure speculation. I also want to point out there have been a lot of people that are well, hang on, why are they talking about spooky stuff in July, right? And it's it's funny because here in the West, we associate spooky season with October, fall. Yep. It's kind of the opposite in Japan. Japan associates summer with spooky season. To them, July, August is spooky season. The hot months. They feel that's when there's a Buddhist, basically the Buddhist version of Dia de los Muertos takes place in August. So this is kind of this is spooky season for them. So it makes sense for the Japanese company to be promoting this game now. And we also do have Tokyo Game Show coming up in September, which is kind of right in that pocket. If this game is ready to go in October or September, late September or something, maybe they properly reveal it and say, hey, people at Tokyo Game Show are going to get to play it, and then it's going to be released, a month later or something.
So, well, saying that you're right, and this is gearing up for a Halloween time release, yes, this would still be the perfect time to drop a teaser for it to start building that hype train. If you're trying to drum up a lot of new interest for a brand new IP, you don't want to just give the game a couple weeks of leadway. You want to give the game at least a couple months of leadway. So if they are thinking about a potential Halloween time release for this game, yes, you absolutely want to start dropping teasers now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. We don't have that much, really, more to extrapolate than that because we just have so little. But
yeah,
but I would.
But it's just so fascinating that
it's
Nintendo
so
would do
interesting.
that.
Yeah, it's super super interesting. It's so unlike Nintendo, especially in the Switch era, where Nintendo has been nothing if not safe with a lot of this stuff. It's kind of cool and interesting to see them do something weird and spooky and promote a game with the themes that this game's gonna have.
Yeah.
So I'm into it. I'm interested.
I am too. I certainly wouldn't take it as this idea of a new direction or a paradigm shift as they move into their new generation of hardware. But, every once in 5 years or so, Nintendo just coming out of the blue with a completely backwards marketing approach from everything that they've done, promoting a game that's so unlike them. Again, just that much of it alone is just so weird. I saw it and I genuinely thought it was like a hack at first.
Yeah, it feels like it, right? I think that's what they want you to think.
Possibly.
So it's neat, man. But we'll definitely be watching this with great interest. But Eric, speaking of Japanese culture, this is pretty exciting.
Taking a complete 180.
Yes. Speaking of summer and Japanese culture, low key, there was a lot of really cool announcements coming out of Anime Expo this year, and this was one of them, an official Western localization of Natsu-Mon, which came out last year for the Nintendo Switch in Japan. This is the latest game from Millennium Kitchen and Kazeabe, the people who made Boku no Natsuyasumi and Attack of the Friday Monsters and the most recent Shin-Chan series. This is their new game, and this is actually more of an open world game, actually directly inspired by Lil Gator Game, which is sort of neat. And it's finally coming to the West. I think it's coming October 16th, I think is the date. And I can't wait. I cannot wait to play this.
I mean, a short hike, Attack of the Friday Monsters, Shin-Chan, like that's really all you needed to hear. You didn't need to see the trailer. You don't need to see any photos. You're just like, tell me where and when I can buy this game. But honestly, like in this day and age, these types of games have been gaining so much traction. There is such a huge audience out there for these slice of life cozy games. Now, I mean, this genre has always existed, but it really feels
August
like
6th.
August 6th.
I'm not mistaken. Yep.
Coming to Nintendo Switch and Steam, as you can see there. But I'm really excited for you specifically because I know that you are waiting with bated breath for August 6th at this point.
I can't wait. I mean, dude, and it's funny because they did this in the initial reveal trailer when the game was first revealed at a Japanese Direct, like early. I think it was the Japanese February Direct of last year, I think, is where this was revealed. And it's a cover of Funny Bunny from The Pillows, which is like from like Fooly Cooly. I mean, this is just everything that I could want in a video game. It's like Kazeabe, new game, inspired by Lil Gator Game, with Pillows music in it. Like, check. I'm day one on this. I can't wait. It's so close. It's like 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away at this point.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Coming out on a Monday, too.
Yeah.
Or a Tuesday, rather.
I'll take it, man. I don't care when it comes out. I'm excited. So yeah, if you're a fan of these types of games like I am, have this on your radar. Natsu-Mon. It's localized as like 20th century summer kid. Yeah. Because the game takes place in like the summer of 1999, I guess. So, yep, can't wait.
This is the summer of 99.
Yeah, Starfy is with me. Bring it on, man.
Mm-hmm.
More Kazeabe games. Okay, well, we're actually we're gonna stay in this. This is a very Japanese-centric episode of the weekly Nintendo News Roundup. Let's talk a little bit about Tako no Himitsu. I'm gonna refresh my page here because I want updated Kickstarter numbers. New Kickstarter from the creator of Save Me, Mr. Tako, Christophe Galati, now live on Kickstarter, and it looks great.
Yeah, It really does. We featured his previous game on the main show a couple times. An adorable little Game Boy inspired action platformer called Save Me, Mr. Taco, which is a lot meatier game than I think anybody expects when they start playing it. But this game, Taku no Hitsumu,
Himitsu.
Thank you. Tongue kind of wrapped around my tonsils there for a second. This specifically is not going to be another Game Boy inspired action platformer. This is going to be, as you can see here, a Game Boy Advance, specifically like a Golden Sun inspired RPG. And co-signed, it looks stunning. You've got kind of the returning octopi, it seems, in some way, shape, or form from the Save Me, Mr. Taco game. I don't know if they're specifically supposed to be the same characters, but they are including, like here you see a bunch of the octopi that the game specifically mentions you can take care of in like a Chow Garden type manner. You also have your little octopi companions that you can take with you into battle, similarly to like the Jin from Golden Sun. But yeah, yes, please. Thank you. Seth and I both have already backed this. And if you are a fan of anything we just said, we really think you should too. This game looks so good.
Yeah, and there's a demo on Steam already, and apparently the demo's like an hour and a half long. I have it downloaded. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I will be doing that in short order. It looks great, man. And you know, it's funny. Chris has been working on this for a while. When we interviewed him, he was like, he was very open. He's like, yeah, I'm making a Golden Sun inspired thing.
Yep.
And here it is. Like, and it is confirmed to be coming to Switch. Like, it's not even a stretch goal or anything. Like, it is coming to Switch, and it's very close. At the time of this recording, it's at 51,067 USD out of 54,344 USD. So, like, it's probably gonna be 100% funded tonight.
Yeah.
So you can back this one with confidence. It's not the kind of thing where I'm gonna back this and then like it's not even gonna get funded or whatever. Like, this seems like a pretty safe bet. And again, you don't even have to take our word for it. You can download the demo for yourself and check it out. So
yeah. At this point, I'm just excited to see what the stretch goals are going to be, because when it comes to projects like this, it typically involves in-game content in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I always kind of think back to the Shovel Knight Kickstarter that wound up getting like 5 times as large, over the course of a decade or so, but still. The ultimate version of Shovel Knight, when it was finished, was just this massively expansive adventure. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen with this game necessarily, but just the thought of how many stretch goals it could potentially meet within the remainder of its campaign, and what other goodies that we could expect to find by the time this game comes out. It already looks amazing, but the thought that there could be more in there, just, I'm sorry, let me wipe the drool off my mouth.
Well, and I mean, if Save Me, Mr. Taco is any indication, like
exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like that game, when I started it, I was like, oh, this will be like an hour or two, fun little GB style romp. No, that's a big game.
It's a big game. Yeah,
and that's why I'm talking about this. I'm like, just knowing how big Save Me, Mr. Taco was versus this style game, it wouldn't surprise me at all if this. Like even just the base version of this game was like a 40, 50 hour adventure. And there's not too many games that it immediately interests me if I have to put that much time into a game these days. But for this title, yeah, I absolutely would.
Well, and the thing that I think too, I mean, Save Mr. Taco is a great game that, has a lot of great music, great pixel art, fun, like kind of Kirby-ish style thing, but way harder than Kirby. But
yeah, it is.
But like interesting gameplay. But for me, it was really the world building of that game. Like
there's a crazy amount of character writing.
Yes. Like it was way deeper than you would think to look at that game. And the idea that person is making an RPG is very exciting to me, so and then like the Golden Sun inspirations are clear and obvious, and this to me looks much more I know that Sea of Stars also cited Golden Sun as being an inspiration. There's shades of it, but this looks like very like they know what they're doing here with this. So
I mean, obviously the combat's not going to be turn-based. like it was in Golden Sun. It's very much almost like action RPG, like a Zelda-esque type of combat. At least that's what I get from the trailer, because you see all this damage being done kind of on the overworld map, as opposed to shifting to a battle specific map
screen.
Yeah.
Looks great, man. So go support it on Kickstarter. It's Tako no Himitsu, and it looks great. And I guess this technically is kind of a Japanese thing too. Splatfest PSA is going on right now. The theme is, what would you reserve for a day? Palace versus theme park versus beach. Of course, we do have some snazzy and in typical Splatfest tradition, some artwork that they've shared over Twitter, showcasing the characters and kind of what they represent. Of course, you already knew that Shiver was gonna be Palace, and so she's there in the palace, and Fry's riding the roller coaster, and Big Man's laid up on the beach.
I just love seeing Big Man there in the shade, just lounging out on the big beach chair, just chilling, living his best life.
And he looks like a watermelon. Like the insides of his fins are like watermelon, and like the outside looks like a watermelon rind. It's really good.
I didn't even put that together.
It's really good. So yeah, my wife and I, my wife actually texted me a couple of days ago, like, which team were we playing? We haven't played the past few Splatfest, but for whatever reason, she's really interested in this one. So we'll be Team Theme Park.
Yeah.
For anybody who wants to play this weekend, my wife and I will be online playing Team Theme Park, and we have a bunch of Splatoon players in our community as well. So
yes, we do.
Links are in the show notes if you want to join our Discord. If you're looking for people to play Splatoon with, there will be people playing Splatoon this weekend. I guarantee you, I'll be one of them.
We can promise that. Yeah, I think I'm Team Theme Park as well. Like, reserving a beach just feels like it's missing the point.
I can go there for free.
Yeah,
it's a beach. Not
only that, myself. Exactly, yeah. Like, I feel like half of the enjoyment for me of the beach is like seeing kids running around having fun, seeing people building sandcastles off in the distance, playing beach volleyball down a couple 100 yards from. That's half of the fun, is being able to enjoy with other people. And like a theme park, I mean, I would certainly like to be able to cut through some lines, but honestly, being by myself at a theme park would probably be more spooky than anything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Well, regardless, that is happening. Probably, I'm sure it's already live now, so it's happening over the course of the weekend. So hop in and play some Splatoon. Eric, let's kick off our notable releases with some very notable releases, shall we?
I mean, we're staying in this Japanese pocket here for a while. Yeah. We have been calling for this for so long. This isn't necessarily the manner in which we were calling for it, but I will take it. Up until this past week, the only game in the Legendary Starfy series to be released to Western audiences was the 5th game in the franchise for the Nintendo DS, released as the Legendary Starfy. And we have been wondering if and when Nintendo was ever going to bring any other titles in the series over to the West. And out of nowhere, Nintendo dropped Starfy 1, 2, and 3, all of the Game Boy Advance games in the series, on the Game Boy Advance NSO this past week, and there was much rejoicing.
Yeah, this is great, man. And we just got a massive NSO drop last week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just in the past couple weeks, just since the Nintendo Direct, we got Shadow dropped 4 games at the Nintendo Direct. We got 7 NES games just last week. We got these 3 titles this week. I actually put those, like, there's no way Nintendo can keep up this clip, right? They've been doing it. Yeah. Nintendo for the past year and a half, 2 years, has been doing about monthly Nintendo NSO drops, which, is fine. But we've gotten 3 separate NSO drops in less than a month. And I'll take it. But, they say, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a pattern. I still don't want to think that we're going to get yet another NSO drop next week or the week after. But just looking at the amount of NSO goodness that we've gotten just in the past couple weeks is so insane. There's been so much value added to that service just in the past couple weeks that I would almost argue the games added in the past couple weeks are worth the price of an NSO subscription alone. Granted, for these 3 games specifically, you do need the expansion pack.
Right, you do need the expansion pack, and they're also not localized. They're not, it is still, the text is still in Japanese, so not that this is the kind of game that you really need to read too much of the text anyways, but, even though this is available on, like, the American version of the GBA NSO app, do be aware that this is, not going to have English language text in it.
Yeah.
But still, you can get around, you can figure it out just fine, and, these are 3 really good little character platformers, kind of in the style of like a Kirby or something.
Yeah. Starfy's always been called Underwater Kirby, and it's not an unfair comparison. I adored the legendary Starfy when it released on the Nintendo DS. I've been calling for the other Starfy games to get released. And yes, as you mentioned, these aren't localized. But thankfully for a game like this, it's not necessarily something that will trip you up too much. Like if this were a Final Fantasy game or Mother 3 being released unlocalized, then that would be an issue. But for this, all you're going to miss out on is some admittedly really adorable conversation between Starfy and his friends. But when it comes to the gameplay, it really shouldn't affect you too much. And I can't wait to jump into these this week. And like I said, I've been waiting on this forever.
Yeah, man. Really cool. Well, speaking of games that we're getting here in the West for the first time, our next release, Parasol stars the story of Bubble Bobble 3, which we're watching Eric's video. Big thanks to the publisher In Games who provided us a code, and Eric did put out a video here on the YouTube channel to show the game off, and seems like you're pretty happy with it.
I really like it. I've always been a fan of the Bubble Bobble series, and as was stated by me many times when we finally got Rainbow Islands on the Nintendo Switch, I think late last year at this point, Rainbow Islands, the story of Bubble Bobble 2, is one of my favorite arcade games just ever. But up until this past week, I had never had the ability to play Parasol Stars, the story of Bubble Bobble 3. So again, huge thank you to In Games for allowing us that opportunity. But this is a really solid, really fun, really adorable, really visually vibrant little late 80s, early 90s arcade game. So if you're a fan of that era of arcade titles, I really recommend checking it out. And again, there's a video up on our YouTube channel so you can see what the first couple worlds are like.
Yeah. It looks cool. It looks really cool. And it's just great that they're bringing this over at all. This is low-key a pretty big deal. Like, this is a game that was never released over here in any significant capacity, and like really barely made it out of Japan and Europe, was originally designed for the arcades and never got an arcade release. So to get this on the Nintendo Switch now is low-key a pretty big deal. And I love stuff like this, and I'm glad that they're doing it. In Games has been pretty good about doing stuff like this here lately. So, yes.
Yeah, that that stage that you saw me on, that was really the only stage that tripped me up for any length of time.
You figured it out.
I figured it out. But yeah, overall, the game is pretty brisk pace. The stages don't really last very long. Honestly, you could probably beat the game in around an hour.
Sure.
It's, not one of those just pure point chasers. There are actual worlds and boss fights and story progression. It's a ton of fun. Definitely check it out, folks.
Nice. Well, next thing we'll shout out here, another Japanese game that also is coming over here. Princess Maker 2 Regeneration. This is a sort of like life sim / like child raising simulator that I had never heard of. We did get a code for this, so thank you to the publisher for providing us a code for this. And actually, it was Matt that he was the only reason I knew this at all, and he only knew it because his wife pointed it out. So we got a code. He and his wife are gonna put a video together for the YouTube channel soon to show the game off. But yeah, it's weird and interesting, and like I'm glad that stuff like this exists. People online are really weird about this game, but it's still cool that like we have it here with like the new art and stuff. I do like the look of the game. I kind of like these old school, kind of visual, not like early visual novel life sim stuff with just all this information on the screen.
I reject the thought that people online would be weird about a Japanese game, Seth.
Yeah, about a game where you're like raising a daughter, and so it's people are weird about it, but still, it looks interesting. I'm eagerly anticipating their video. So.
Could you imagine like trying to apply this IRL? Why are you so mad? This worked in the game. Trying to raise a
Right.
daughter.
Yeah. So Princess Maker 2 Regeneration. It is a thing. Next up, we'll shout out. I don't know how you pronounce this. I don't know if it's Dross or Dros. I don't know, but this looks like a pretty interesting. This is Lockless video.
Yeah, I was about to say. I know she did a first look at this.
Yes.
That was honestly the only reason that I was even aware that this game exists. However, the fact that she was the one doing the first look tells me a lot about the title.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's kind of a top-down, like dungeon crawler, sort of like action puzzle game, sort of thing. Maybe a little bit of like light Zelda vibes to it. It looks interesting because you have this little like sort of companion where you can like pop out and kind of like shim a little bit. Like you're like this little blobby dude that can like run around and possess like some of the items in the world and solve puzzles. It looks kind of neat. I don't know. I'd never heard of it either, but I saw this crop up and wanted to, shout outs to Locklith and her video. You can see here, you kind of like split off, almost like Gooigi in Luigi's Mansion 2 a little bit, split off and solve puzzles like that. So
I can see that.
neat.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. All of a sudden, the main character just kind of, out this weird, mucky, shadowy thing from their body.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what the story of it is or anything like that. Again, this week is the first I'd really heard of it, but it looks kind of interesting.
Well, apparently it's on a massive like launch discount.
I saw that.
It's typically $25, but I guess it's on a 60% off launch discount. So if it does look interesting to you, you can get it for $10 up until August 2nd.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'll admit, I didn't even know like that Ace Combat 7 was coming to the Nintendo Switch, so this was a surprise to me. I'm not an Ace Combat guy, but I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah. I mean, Ace Combat's not like the biggest marquee franchise. It's one with a lot of legacy to it, but it's never going to sell like a Zelda or a Smash Brothers or something. Sure. But there's some really hardcore fans out there for Ace Combat. When it comes to flight simulators and stuff like this, I've never really gotten into them. But I know that this series, again, has its fans, and I'm happy for them that they finally get a new one in the series, especially if they have a Nintendo Switch. I mean, the Nintendo Switch does feel like a good fit on paper just because of, see, there you go, Tim from the Nintendo Dads. He's super excited. Mm-hmm. And on paper, I feel like this does make sense just because of the potential of gyro controls. Because there are a lot of games out there that allow you to kind of adjust the aim. Like when you're in some type of first-person aiming mode or something, you can kind of slightly adjust the aim. Splatoon's a perfect example of that. Right. So maybe if they're able to incorporate that into Ace Combat, it can really help refine the flight controls. I could see that working on a Nintendo Switch. And frankly, that that sequence right there in the trailer did look pretty amazing. So I don't know. Tim seems really excited. Tim, are you going to be, playing this on stream anytime soon? I'll be interested to know about that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. You do get a Top Gun Maverick aircraft set with the deluxe edition of the game. I don't know if that's like because this game came out in like 2019. Like this game has been out for a minute. It came out on like PS4. So Tim says definitely. So nice. There you go. Very cool, man. Yeah, that was a big surprise. Various DLCs available, says the trailer. So please be excited. Just for you, Tim says. There you go, Eric. Just for you. Tim will stream it.
Thank you.
So very cool. Well, here's a little weird game that a free-to-play mobile game that also has been out for many years is now available on Switch. Bleach Brave Souls. This is like a free-to-play sort of like beat 'em up gotcha game that has been out on mobile for forever, and it's now out on Switch. And cool if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, Switch is such a weird console because it's it just seems so fitted to a large variety of just kind of weird games. And honestly, a lot of these mobile beat 'em ups, a mobile game with any amount of depth to it, honestly just feels like a good candidate for a Switch port. And I'm not necessarily saying that this game has a lot of depth to it. I haven't played it. I'm not sure. And unfortunately, Bleach is just something that I've never even been able to watch an episode of. But at the very least, it's out there. And if you are a fan, you can check it out.
Yeah, I'm sure Bleach fans might get something out of it. It is funny though with these like free to play mobile gacha games. Like it's funny that we get stuff like this every now and then on the Nintendo Switch, but none of the Hoyoverse games are on Switch, and none of Nintendo's own gacha games are on Switch. Like you could have just put Fire Emblem Heroes on Switch and made a bunch of money, and they didn't do that. So I do find stuff like this is always kind of weird and interesting to me. So who knows? Maybe it'll do well. It's available now if you're a Bleach fan. Bleach Brave Souls out now on the Nintendo Switch for free with a bunch of microtransactions, I'm sure.
As is the way with gacha games.
That's right. I think that's all I've got unless I missed something.
A couple things coming up. We didn't mention the fact that Power Wash Simulator has a new suite of Alice in Wonderland DLC. I think that came out last week.
Yeah, it was last week, yeah.
But I just wanted to throw that out there. And also, I'm looking forward to San Diego Comic-Con coming here next week. We've got a couple studios that have already been teasing big announcements coming up next week. So big Mortal Kombat 1 news coming next week and a couple other things that I'm excited for. But that'll certainly be more than enough for us to talk about next week during our news roundup. But we would love to know what you guys think about everything going on within the world of Nintendo this week. Are you going to be locked in your room playing the Starfy games all weekend like I certainly absolutely will not be? Are you going to be hanging out playing some Ace Combat 7 with Tim? What are you guys going to be up to this weekend? Let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook at All In Podcast, on Twitter at All In Podcast. Make sure to join our Discord, especially if you are a Splatoon fan. I promise you there will be a lot of Splatoon popping off in the Discord this weekend. We have an amazing community over there, and we would love for you to be a part of it. Also, if you're hanging out here watching us live during this weekly news roundup, especially on YouTube, do us a favor before you go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, go ahead and click that bell for notifications so you never miss another video from us here at All In Media. We've already referenced a couple of the videos that we've put up on the channel in recent days, including my video on Parasol Stars. We've got that video coming up from our amazing co-host Matt and his wife on Princess Maker, and we've got some very interesting stuff coming up next week for you guys, in addition to a series that we do called Quarter Circle Forward. Again, these weekly news roundups, streams. Looking forward to Seth jumping back into his Nuzlocke when he can. So much content, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of it. But in addition to all of that stuff, Seth, we somehow find time to create exclusive content for our patrons.
We do. Patreon.com/allinpodcast. Again, that is the place to be. Check it out. 3 tiers of support. You can get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier, and see all the exclusive content that goes up there. Early access to Bit Harmony. New episode of that just went live for patrons in early access today, actually. So that's like a 4.5-hour episode of Matt and I talking about the Super Monkey Ball series. Very cool. And there's all kinds of exclusive stuff that goes up every single week over there. Again, grab some merch, allin.media. And again, like, subscribe, leave comments, leave us 5-star reviews if you listen on your audio feeds. That's all very, very appreciated. All of your support means the world and helps us climb the ranks in the Nintendo podcasting universe. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yes, go ahead and pop that 7-day free trial, especially if you're a fan of our indie game coverage. There's a lot to look forward to on our Patreon content page. But to everybody who has become one of our legendary patrons, to everybody who has picked up a piece of our merch at allin.media, I'm actually having to stop myself because I still keep saying the old one. to anybody who's picked up a piece of our merch at allin.media, to everybody who has dropped words on whatever podcasting service you happen to follow us on, and of course, anybody who has even just shared any of our content over the internet, to each and every one of you, we would like to extend a huge namaste.
Namaste, everybody. That's been the news this week. Thanks so much for everybody for coming out. Thank you to Rubberman202, Star Athena, Tim, and Bowza for hanging out in the live chat. Of course, we do have a brand new episode of All In, a Nintendo podcast, hitting your feeds tomorrow morning. In that episode, in celebration of the new Tako no Himitsu Kickstarter, we are counting down our top 5 favorite crowd-funded Nintendo games. Top 5 crowd-funded Nintendo games. So that's fun. We're doing an indie showcase on Dunk Lords to celebrate the new basketball update for Nintendo Switch Sports. And we're doing our full review of Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. It's like an hour-long review discussion about Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania.
Banana Rumble.
Banana Rumble. So sorry. They put
banana in every title. It's
Banana Blitz, Banana Splits, Banana Mania, Banana Rumble.
Yes.
I'm over it. I'm over it. I love the game, spoilers, but I'm over it.
To clarify, the review is about Banana Rumble, the newest game in the series.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Yes, so that hits your podcast feeds tomorrow. Look forward to it. And until then, we'll talk to y'all later. Have a great weekend. See you on Splatoon. Bye, everybody.